Umagyanatimirandhasya Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pranamami Hari Priye Sri Radhe Ki Jai Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. I'll say a few words about Guru Vandanam, since you have all gathered together spontaneously of your own accord, it seems, to uh, have such a ceremony that constitutes the puja of the Guru. Mm. Heartfelt and joyous, it seems. Mm. I don't want to speak too long, but I'll say a few words and uh, then allow you to voice any questions. Right? Sing a song in our particular paribar coming from Bhakti Vinod, and the ideas really, the big idea of Bhakti Vinod Thakur was to place Gaudiya Vaishnavism on the stage along with the other world religions. He felt it deserved a place there, and he spoke about Gaudiya Vaishnavism in many senses in a broad context to help realize that ambition. For example, Gaudiya Vaishnavism is particularly, I guess I would say, it specializes in the nature of the afterlife and the prospect that lies therein with great detail that I would say exceeds even the detail that we learn from the great lineage, Vaishnava lineages of Madhva or Ramanuja, for example, but focused as they are on the expansive uh, domain of Vaikuntha. The speciality of Gaudiya Vaishnavas in this connection is prem prayojan. You may note, and I've mentioned it many times before, that all of the other Vaishnava sampradayas state that their goal is mukti. Now, there are different types of mukti, of course, and they're all speaking about salokya, sasti, samipya, sarupya, attaining the planet of Bhagawan, become a citizen therein. It's socialistic, I would say. Everybody's provided for, and everyone is giving to the center. But because the center is so qualified, there's never any revolution. Nobody's left out. Just like if you feed the stomach, which it calls for, then mystically it transforms that food into energy and sends it to all the other parts of the body, right? If there's ever a revolution on the part of the hand or the mouth or the tongue, then they'll all wither away, right? It's also a democracy, however, because everybody has the freedom to speak there. And they take full advantage of that with never-ending glorification of Bhagawan Narayan. Shri Narayan Ki Jai. There is a kind of prem there. But we refer to it in this way in Gaudiya Vaishnava as a kind of prem. The kind of prem is reverential. And it creates some distance between the object of worship, Sri Narayan, and the worshiper. That distance is bridged by the worship, but the distance remains. He is God, and he is the worshipped, and we are the worshiper. I've told a story before that some of you probably haven't heard, that I'm reminded of at this moment. Let me share it with you. I was in South India one time with one of my friends and godbrothers, and we were invited to a Sanskrit school where the head master, it was actually his home, was a Brahmin in the Sri Vaishnava tradition, Vishishtadvaita, of the great Ramanuja, following in the wake of the poetry of the Alvars, the mystics. Great, great tradition. And we were honoring Prashad in his house. And so amongst ourselves, he was serving, Grihastha man, and we sannyasis were sitting and honoring the Prashad and his hospitality and happily engaged in Harikatha amongst ourselves. So one of my godbrothers, he said that, Prabhu, but one thing I've noticed, he spoke to our host, he said that whenever we are speaking Harikatha, you're always very happy. And he said, yes, yes, yes. And then he said, my godbrother said, but when we speak of Narayan, before he could get another word out of his mouth, that man went, that is another thing. Oh, I knew I was seated before a man from Vaikuntha. It was awe-inspiring just to see that bhava. They like Krishna, they love Krishna, but they see him from a different angle of vision, right? They see him as the playful avatar of Narayan. Sometimes he acts like that. We don't participate in that directly. That's not a possibility, but he has these expansions of himself, his entourage, and he shows these playful leelas, such as the person of Narayan. We see it a little differently. If they could not see in that way, there would be no Vaikuntha. So it's all right. That type of prem is there, reverential prem. But when we take the word prem and translate it, let's say, into English, love, well, we know there are varieties of love, right? And reverential love, love of God, that we do on Sunday, for example, in the Catholic tradition, let's say, is different than love of the family, love of the parents, love of the children, love of the friend, and so on and so forth, love between the husband and the wife. And the unfortunate circumstance is that those forms of love are more powerful. So there we go to church, and maybe if you're young and not married, you might look around and see who else is there. Even during the Mass, right? It happens. Happened to me once. I'm a Catholic boy, so I speak from experience. Mm. But of course, the Gaudiyas reason uh, uh, wisely that if we could love God like a parent, like a child, like a parent, like a friend, like a lover, it would have a greater intensity and afford greater intimacy than reverential love. And this is what the Krishna avatar speaks to us about. And we emphasize and underscore the point, the philosophical point, that Krishna is the source of uh, Narayan, because if he's not, it's okay to think that he's not, and there's a world for that. But if he's actually not, then there is no world where we can be his friend, be his lover. Do you understand? Because there aren't friends and lovers in Vaikuntha. Hmm? Narayan may show that sometimes to his associates, and the associates of Krishna in the Leela that he shows are not sadhakas who can enter there. Hmm? That's why Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Sanatana Goswami, has two cantos. One canto is about the nature of the love that is so high and intimate, reaching up to Gopi Bhav. Hmm? Staggering to hear in the first canto, as demonstrated through the inquiry and the search, the exploration of Narad Muni. Hmm? And the purpose of the second canto is that, well, it's interesting to make the case that there's such love, but where does it take place? Is there a place for that? Therefore, the second canto is the Golok Mahatmya. Hmm? It's all about, ultimately, about Goloka. It talks about different realms, but it ends up with there's a place that corresponds. And that's only possible that there's a place that corresponds with that love and affords us access to participate in it as well, if Krishna is the source of Narayan. Because if Krishna is the avatar of Narayan, then there's only Vaikuntha and there's only reverential love there. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons, just one. Try to hang on to that one. Why we make this point, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. It's not just some sectarian, we think Krishna's better, there's deep philosophical reasoning behind it. And it speaks to us of the prospect that we all have, which is why we're attracted here to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, right? So therefore, despite the fact that there is a form of prem, as I'm mentioning, majestic prem in Vaikuntha, those Vaishnavas who have this noble and dutiful love as their ideal refer to their ideal not as prem, but as mukti. Again, there are four types: to live on the same planet as Narayan, to have the similar opulences as Narayan. These are kind of the perks of living there. Every citizen gets, something like this, right? To have a form like Narayan's, to have the service, personal service of Narayan, Samipya. But we, Gaudiyas, are unique in the sense that we state that our goal is prem, not mukti. And by making this statement, prem prayojan, prayojan means the goal, we are saying that salokya, shasti, samipya, sarupya, we're not interested in these types of mukti. What to speak of ekatvam or sayuja, merging into Brahman. We're not interested in these types of mukti. In fact, we are not interested in mukti, period. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahoitakitahi. Sometimes I've been asked, Guru Maharaj, can we attain Goloka Vrindavan in one lifetime? My reply is, in one lifetime you will. But further, which one? The one in which you stop asking that question. That is Ruchi Bhakti. Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Rahoita Kitvai. What to speak of Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, hmm, followers, and the prestige that comes from that, the attention that comes from that, the an emotional other, the drive for that, mm, wealth, abundance, nadanam, najanam, nasundarim. Mahaprabhu says, Kavitamba. Neither I'm interested in the fine arts, like drama, the opera, poetries that common people don't have the samskar to appreciate. They want some loud, hard sounding beat, something like that. This is Mahaprabhu's way by this term, Kabitamba, neither the poetry. He's saying, Rati, rasa, that is the churning of rati. Rasa is the soul of poetry. Oh, you can just taste the poetry, and it almost like takes you outside of your immediate sense of identity and to other possibilities. And but this is secular rasa. This is mundane rasa. It's powerful, but you cannot get bhakti rasa from that. But if you have rati and you want to express it, well, this would be the best language to use. That the poetry then becomes powerful, empowered, becomes an instrument or a vehicle or a tool that can help us to attain rati ourselves. Just a side point. Nadanam, najanam, nasundaram, kavitamba. He says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is Shikshastakam. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitamba, jagadisha kamaye. Jagadisha kamaye. Kama, the world of desire, the world of want. We're running on empty. We want. This is the Buddha's reasoning. We suffer because of wanting, right? He was right. Krishna says that suffering is born from the womb of attachment or wanting, material desire. And so, in the Jagadishwar, the Jagat, meaning the world, the Ishwar of that, the Paramatma, he's presiding over this whole show of material existence that's made up of all these desires. Mahaprabhu says, not only do I not interested in all these desires, including the poetry, I'm not interested in the Jagadishwar either. That form of the Godhead who presides over all these things, even though he's doing so with an effort to bring them out by manifesting as avatars, manifesting the Veda, manifesting the world, and giving us bodies so that we can function in such a way as to become a sadhaka and meet our maker, so to speak. Still, he says, I'm not interested in him either. My attention is turned somewhere else now. Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Rahoita Kitva. He says, Mama Janmani Janmanishvare. I don't want Mama Janmani I don't even care about mukti. I don't want all these things of the world, and I don't care about mukti either. The Jagadishwar wants us to have mukti. He wants you to want mukti. Something like that. This is determinism and free will, kind of a, what do they call it? A compatibilist perspective. A compatibilist perspective on these two polar opposites, determinism and free will. They're both. We have some will, but we're dependent on his will for it to come to fruition. You don't have free will, otherwise you could just jump off the building and fly if you wanted to. So there are other factors involved. The farmer plants seeds to grow wheat, here in Poland, but if he doesn't get rain, nothing will grow, right? The rain is beyond his control, right? So, so people are not wrong to pray to God for things. It's a beginning, it's a start, right? But Mahaprabhu says, I'm not interested in the Jagadishwar either. Jagadishwar. Mama Janmani Janmanishware Babatan Bhakti Rahoitaki. I don't means I'm not interested in mukti. Janmani Janmani means life after life after life. Let me take birth. Mama Janmani, Janma means birth, but Mama Janmani, let me take birth again and again. It doesn't matter to me. That's the life you need to come to. It's not on my mind because I'm getting ruchi, a taste. He said, I have a taste for bhakti. That's all. Amma janmani janmanishwari babatat bhaktir ahoy tuki twai. Ahoy tuki twai. For me, I have no ahoy tuki. I have no ambition, no other desire, only bhakti. I only want bhakti. In this life, then maybe one more after that, because then you will soon get asakti, because out of the ruchi that you have, it will be particular. You will like certain prayers, certain books, certain slokas, certain deity, and so forth. And then in asakti, the object of your bhakti will come before you. And then you enter into bhava. And then from bhava, you take another birth and churn that bhava. That's a good birth, born with bhav, born out of bhava in this world. And then one more birth. So 3 births. The third birth is to take birth out of bhava, out of prema, in the lila of Krishna as it manifests in this world. And we talked a little bit about that the other day, right? And then from there, through the association of the Nitya Siddhas, the eternal associates, we will intensify our prema relative to our rati, our rasa, such that we'll be in a position to enter into Goloka, Yadgatva Nanivartante Dhamma Paramamama, from where there's no return. You're a little afraid to go there, almost. No return. I'm sure. You have to be sure. You have to be convinced about the futility of material existence. Right? The futility. It is samsara dhavana. Samsara is dhavanala. It means without trying, fires start. Such is the world. You don't need an arson. Lightning may come. Bamboo just may rub against 2 bamboo shoots against one another, and there'll be a forest fire. It's just the nature of the place. It's burning up. You don't need to go to hell. It's already the house is on fire. There's an emergency. My Guru Maharaj spoke as if the house was on fire. That's how he always spoke to us. He generated a great sense of urgency for sadhana, even though oftentimes it has a negative connotation. Get out while you can. Something like that. Of course, he didn't leave it at that. He gave us the ideal as well. This prem of Golok, that is the prayojan, it's different. There we can associate with Bhagavan and intimacy and so on, so forth, right? Such a high ideal. And it comes to us through an agent. That place is a virtual ocean of good qualities and auspiciousness. Kalyana Gunarnavasya. Kalyana Gunarnavasya. I'm speaking from the first verse of Shiksha of the Guru Vastakam. as I began in our community, the Gaudiya community, coming from Bhaktivinoda Paribar, the Bhaktivinoda community. Bhaktivinoda had the idea to put Gaudiya Vaishnavism, this extraordinary idea, this prem, this bhakti rasa, is get this Gaudiya Vaishnavism on the world stage with the other religions. He spoke about it in a broad way often, by saying things like, in the Christians, they have brotherly love too. Love your neighbor like yourself. It's not exactly Sakyarasa, but this is how Bhaktivinoda was speaking in a broad way about it, to be more inclusive. And you make some connection with the world, those on the stage, another connection. And they say, well, you come on up, right? This was his idea. So it was a good strategy and a big idea he had. What was the condition of Gaudiya Vaishnavism? Even at the time in West Bengal, and it was not a religious tradition that educated, pious Hindus had much interest in. This is due to the influence of time and by which the sampradaya had become less vital, which happens as the Gita explains, right? What does the Gita say? Evam parampara praptam imam rajashyo vidu sakalena mahata yoganashta. But sometimes, by the influence of time, my message becomes a little diluted. And I come then again. I send Bhaktivinoda Thakur for that purpose, to reestablish its virtue and underscore how vital it is, its message is at all times, in all circumstance. What is life about anyway? I'll give you my answer in one sense. It's about what's out there and who's asking the question. That hasn't changed. And this is precisely what Gaudiya Vaishnavism is about. What's out there and who's asking the question. And the answers are really big and deep. Right? A little broad with regard to what's out there. It's not what it looks like. We could investigate it further and find some things, but then we would be in some conflict with modern science. And we talked about this Copernican and the different ways of looking at things. We don't have to get too deep in there. Let's deal with the Achilles heel of modern materialism, consciousness, and the inability to reduce consciousness to matter. That will never happen. The very act of reduction requires consciousness. You understand? This is a powerful insight voiced by Shankar, which we also, all Vaishnavas voice as well, that consciousness is that which cannot be denied. Everything else can be denied. It doesn't endure. So in terms of what's real, well, if it's here today and gone tomorrow, you don't think it's real, right? Your dream just here today, it's gone, and by the time you wake up, it wasn't real. So the less time that a thing endures, by this standard, the less real it is in our own estimation, right? So most of the things that we are attached to are not very real at all. What about the sun? No, it will burn out too. We should go to the street with signs. The sun is burning out. The sun is burning out. Who will pay attention to us? But it's true. We'll worry about that later. We'll get to that too. So such is the world. Again, samsara dhavanam, it's burning up. So anyways, Bhaktivinoda wanted to put the Gaudiya Vaishnavism on the stage with the world of religions. He spoke very broadly, very generously, made a connection with them, try to show similarities between Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and he brought dignity to Gaudiya Vaishnavism in terms of character. Character, this is very important, character. This verse from Gurvastakam speaks like that. Gunarnavasi means also that ocean of qualities that is Krishna turns into a cloud. Sangsara lila loka janaya karana guna ganatvam. It turns into a rain cloud in the form of Shri Guru. Those qualities. Then he or she teaches by example, primarily. Books are good too, but example speaks louder than precept, right? So we must have both. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this is his song. He says, the Guru is like a rain cloud, the ocean of good qualities and kindness. And how are you going to put out the forest fire? If the rain cloud comes, you have the answer, right? Everything. If it rains and rains, monsoon. Krishna is compared to the monsoon himself, right? One of the reasons is because in India, during the hot season, very hot, and Vrindavan especially very hot. It's right on the border of the Rajasthan desert. One year it was recorded as the hottest place in the world in the book of whatever world records. Very hot. And so come July or so, when the rains come, everyone is dancing on the rooftops, right? Like peacocks dancing on the roof. And the rains are coming. The cloud is coming, covering the sun, and soon it will pour down. And this unbearable heat will be dissipated. So Krishna is compared not only because of the sham, the color, which is the color of romantic love, according to Indian aesthetics, sham, but compared to the rain cloud, because, as I've explained, what the rain cloud means to the people in that local area, and by extension, we can understand it here, although the seasons are a little different. So Bhakti Vinod wanted, as I say, he had an idea. To go from there, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave shape to the idea in the form of Gaudiya Math, and he instituted in his mouth the singing of this song. I wanted to give you a little background on the song. And it's popular also in other Gaudiya lineages, but it's very popular in our lineage. And in Prabhupada's mission, my Guru Maharaj's mission, of course, he instituted it as well. Typically, it's sung during the Mangal Arati, not in all of the Gaudiya Maths. Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj would sing another song during the Mangal Arati in praise of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then afterwards, he would sing Gurvastakam. We are doing that here, right? I think you're singing the song that I composed about Audarya Leela in the morning, and then Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then we sit and some other songs in Sangsara. So this is one, of course, of 8 verses, Gurvastakam, and it's followed by a 9th verse that speaks of the fruits. Follows Stuti, the verse that speaks of the fruits of chanting this prayer, especially during the early hours of the Brahma Muhurta, about 45 minutes before sunrise. It's thought to be an auspicious time. We may not understand all the nuances of that, subtleties of that, but in a very general sense, we can understand it's a very quiet time. It's an early beginning. There are very few things to distract me. The lights are not on. The world has not started yet, right? And Krishna's night is just coming to an end. He needs to get back into the house as soon as possible, right? Once he gets into the house, safe, what happens? Suddenly Balaram appears out on the balcony, blowing his horn. It's okay, son, you can come up now. This is how the Braj Leela works. And all the cowherd boys jump up from their beds, and dash for the door to be caught by their mothers and say, "Wait, no, I have to dress you. You're going to see the prince here of the cowherds, Kumar Krishna." Uh, there's a struggle there between Sakya and Vatsalya. Finally, decorated enough, out the door they go, and they're bringing their own herds to merge with Nanda Maharaj's herd of cows, right? All converging on Nandagram in the morning, and the day starts. The milking can be heard throughout. And there's an ocean of milk that's churning, churning, churning. And, and now the world of Goloka is going around. So many activities there. So, so what was it? So anyway, the song, yeah, and the rain which is coming up here. Yeah. Somehow we drifted into Goloka itself, just talking about this. So Bhaktisiddhanta instituted this, and all of his group is singing. We're singing in the morning during the Brahma Muhurta, was the point, during the Brahma Muhurta, early in the morning. And this corresponds with the Krishna's trying to get home before the sun comes up. Sun is also called Mitra. Mitra means friend. The sun is actually a good friend, and the deity presiding over Radha's birth also. That's why every Sunday at Surya Kund, she's worshiping the sun god, apparently. And it serves as an opportunity that the sun provides for Radha and Krishna to meet under the guise of worshiping the sun. See how the sun cooperates at noon, the brightest time of the day, allowing for Radha and Krishna to meet. And only the Gopikas and Narmasakas know about it. Secret of the secrets of Braj. There may be some suspicion about him at night, but not in broad daylight. And he's working. His work is taking care of the cow, so he doesn't have the time, but he finds a way, and his friends help him, and they make their way. This is a very, very central to Gaudiya Vaishnava. The revelations about the midday lila at Radha Kund and Sham Kund is a specialty of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So there's a place like this. There's a place. What does the Brahma Samhita say? Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Tuma Bhumis Chintamani Ganamayi Toyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivamsi Priyasaki Chiranandam Jyoti Paramapi Tarastadyam Apicha. Such a nice place. He said, it says, Shriya Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kalpataru. In that place, there are many Lakshmis. Shriya Kanta Kanta. And there's one object of their love. As I said this morning, in Vaikuntha, there's only one Lakshmi. And in Goloka, there are many. But there's a similarity between the two. What is the similarity? In Vaikuntha, there's only one Narayan. And in Vrindavan, there's only one Krishna. And all these gopikas are attracted by him, right? They're all attracted by him. Lakshmi Sahasra. Shriya Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha. The many gopis and the Paramapurusha. Kalpataru. Then there are desire trees. Shriya Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kalpataru. Desire trees, milk cows, what did they? Kamdenu. And there it said the walking is dancing, the talking is singing, And Jiva Goswami, reflecting on this verse, said, what must be the dancing? And then what must be the singing? If the walking is dancing, what must be the dancing? This is a musical on steroids. Right? When the talk and the walk turns to song and dance in Bollywood, these Hindus got some connection, with with the ultimate reality. It's very nice. There's a moment, they want to emphasize the moment, the feeling. It turns into song and dance. And in the Western plot-oriented rationalist, I think be a little bored by that, okay, let's get on with the plot here. What's going on? What's going to happen next? They're too much waiting for the next thing to happen instead of being a little more conscious of the moment, the capacity to focus on it. Without huge industrial development, well, you have more time to think about the moment that's with you in the present. And this is what we want, right? Eternal present. So if the walking is dancing, if the talking is singing, what must be the singing? What must be the dancing there? Even Bollywood will pause and go into a trance. Such a place. How to put it into words? You could see he's trying. This statement of the Samhita is trying to put it into words, and Jiva Goswami says, not enough. Take it. What more must it be? It's in a very rare place. Very few sadhus will attain that. Of course, that means all of your type. There's only a few of you. Goloka. So back we went there. Such a place, and so it's full of all auspicious qualities. Rupa Goswami has given how many qualities of Krishna has he described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? Wrong. No, how could he write unlimitedly in one book? Those four are part of the 64. Now he lists 64 qualities. He gives examples of them, right? But he also references Srimad Bhagavatam, where there's some 30 or some other qualities that are mentioned in one verse. So you combine them together. And the answer is it's unlimited, but I couldn't write them all down because it's unlimited. So I'm just giving a preview. This is like a trailer to the movie. All of the books of the Goswamis, these are like only table of contents to the book that is Goloka, the story of Goloka. And in that book, there's a page and it has your name on it. And it's blank other than that. And you are supposed to write the whole page out. When your desire becomes Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoy Takitoye, I only want bhakti. Pick up the pen now. Ruchi has come. You can start to write that page, and it turns into a whole chapter. And that chapter has no end. And neither does any other page in the chapter, neither any other chapter. No page has an end, no chapter has an end, the book has no end, it's open-ended. Prabhupada used to say, the Bhagavatam has unlimited pages. We have a small version here, preview only. It's the book about Bhagwan, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagwan and his Sri. Bhagwan from her perspective, the full picture, in other words, two-handed, playful, conquered completely by love, captured, Dear Lalita Krishna, to use the poetic term from the Kavya. So these books of the Goswamis, they're all like I said, that's the table of contents, or what it's all about. The whole Prakat Leela is but a trailer to the movie or the whole drama. So therefore, the Gurvastakam tries to capture that by saying Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya, an ocean of auspicious qualities. That is the ideal. That is prem. And prem prayojan, where the object of love and the vessel of that love, the distance between the two are bridged, not like Vaikuntha. There's no bridge. Therefore, as I say, in love, if you understand love, then you cannot say I love you, because you don't understand it. That means because in love there are not two, there's only one. You give me your heart, I'll give you mine. You and I become a unit. A dynamic one, not a monistic one, dynamic one. So the first verse of Shikshastakam says it's trying to tell us something about this Taptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya. So he or she, the guru, is informed by these qualities of Golok, the auspicious nature of that place. That's we've just the verse is comparing it to an ocean, has dipped into the ocean of auspiciousness that is prem, an auspiciousness as far as a prospect that exceeds everything, even mukti. Everybody wants freedom. This is beyond freedom. Prabhupada used to say every religious tradition says that God is the most worshipable being. But we say we're interested in she who God worships. This is our idea. Shri Radhe Ki Jai. Very peculiar. This is a very extraordinary and auspicious, mind-boggling ideal. And it's mercifully come before us. And in what way has it come before us most prominently? The deity of Krishna, right? No, wrong. Why do we bow down before the deity? Ram? Any example that we've seen? Because the Vaishnava told us that's God. The Guru told us that. And Guru said, here is I'm going to give you the password that you can, so he'll start talking to you. You just have to invoke this password. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Klim Krishnaya Govindaya, etc. This is the password. It opens, he says, oh, you're one of us. You know the password. Come in, right? And then sadhana bhakti. Guru, she teaches this is sadhana bhakti by example. And we progress by paying attention, I should say, to the way in which Krishna has most prominently God has come into our life. That is the whole idea. Because also the Guru conducts himself, or she speaks in such a way that we feel at one with, we feel at home with. Ujjapatrita Maharaj used to say, for home going, we need a home knowing man. I love that. For home going, a home knowing man is necessary, or woman. Home knowing person is necessary. And I would add to that, and home is in the heart. So his or her words touch the heart. And we feel like, I agree with that. That's what I wanted to say. If I could have put that in words, That's what I would say. What he is saying is how I'm feeling. It should be. It could be. It must be. It has to be. I'll give my life to make it be. Hmm? There's a statement in the Shastra, in the Upanishads, Tat Vigyanartam Gurum Medabhikachet. The way that the language of the Shruti is a little bit like a king speaking, do this, do that. Tat Vigyanartam Gurum Eva Bhikachet. One must have a guru. Such is the law. Recoiling from that, I I tend to think of it in a more of a smriti type of explanation, like the Bhagavad, which after all is Shruti, Saram, Ekam, the very essence of the Shruti, just churned and presented to us much more gently. What was the interpretation then? I must have a guru. I must have her as my guru. I must have him as my guru. It's not a law. You understand? Hmm? It's this, my own heart is speaking to me. It's not an external foreign imposition. Hmm? No. Hmm. This is the feeling. It's not, well, I guess I have to have a guru. That's what they say. And, maybe that guy or maybe her over there. Try it out. The institution says you have to do it like this. Hmm. I mean, I was young. I was not looking for an institution. I was looking for a guru. Hmm. I- So it's a fact that in this, I'm speaking about in a particular way as well, in a general way. Krishna comes to us in the guru, the form of the guru, more than in any other way. And in the way I'm talking about it as well, because it's also specific, it's to us. Because that same guru doesn't speak necessarily the same way to everybody, doesn't resonate with everybody's heart. Hmm? To some extent, but so that happens. Hmm? We should be careful, though, I can say one thing, because there is in our Gaudiya Sampradaya the possibility of a plurality of gurus. In fact, Chaitanya Charitamrita begins with this statement, Vande Gurun, Vande Gurun. Krishna says, I offer my respects to my gurus, to the gurus, to the Diksha Guru, to the Siksha Guru, the former of which is singular, who gives, we need one person to give the mantra, whereas many persons, qualified persons, can comment on it, can explain it, can help to bring it out. Hmm. And oh, the Diksha Guru is so happy to get some help, to help this disciple. Of course, he's also a Siksha Guru. But especially in our modern world, he can't be everywhere at all times, and so the more help we can get, the better. I can tell you, more help I can get, I'm raising both hands. Help in all respects. This is not a sign of weakness. This is a sign of strength. This is a sign of recognizing the reality. We all need as much help as we can possibly get. This is our effort. In bhakti, there is effort. In Gyan, there is effort. In Yoga Marg, there is effort. But there's a difference between the two. In terms of the latter two, we refer to them as an ascending path. How virile, for example, is yoga? So, I mean, it's funny because it's real popular amongst ladies in the United States, more popular amongst ladies than men, of course, probably because of the way it's marketed, what it's for. And also partly because of, to some extent, it's natural for the classically speaking, let us say, for the female disposition to want to serve. You might get away from that in modern society to some extent, for one reason or another, and it may be good to some extent. You can't go too far with it, or you'll be a man. Yeah. So So we find like in India, so many women in the temples probably just say they have natural inclination towards bhakti. You know, I mean, men want to be in control, that they feel more comfortable. It's, we try to come, these days, and it's good. Let's do a little bit of each here, and that's good. But uh, what was my point? So,
Plurality of gurus.
yeah,
What was
yeah. So this how virile is yoga, for example. It's very austere. Mm. The naked sadhus, Myanmar, living in the Himalayas, so forth. Yogis sitting on a deer skin, fasting, right? And they're getting powers from it, getting powers. Like I gave an example this morning, I was talking to some devotees. I met a fellow once, and he was a yogi, and I was speaking to him about Gaudiya Vaishnava. He was very attracted, and finally, I said, "Well, you can join us if you like." And he said, "The thing is, he had dreadlocks. He said, all of my power is in my hair, and to join you, I'll have to cut my hair. You don't necessarily have to, but in those days we did." Hmm. Prabhupada wanted all of his disciples to be shaved heads. Hmm. That was his thought. Once in a meeting with a university scholar who was an Indologist, the Indologist asked Prabhupada during the darshan, who is God? And Prabhupada said, "What is this? You are an Indologist and you are asking me who is God? What do we call that?" He asked his student, who was a scientist, and who had invited the teacher, and he said, "Prabhupada, we call that cheater, not teacher." That's what we were like. Right? And then, but the teacher said, "No, no, no, Pranipat, Tadviti Pranipatena, Pranipat." He folded his hands, a verse from the Gita. "I'm asking submissively." And Prabhupada said, "Not like that, like this, shaved head. That is Pranipat." Well, he agreed. I'm not asking like that, but that's the way to know, right? Sometimes when Prabhupada would give a darshan in India, and a young Indian boy would come afterwards, Prabhupada, and we were all Western boys there, girls, and Prabhupada would say, and look at the boy and say, "So you understand?" And the boy would nod like this, which means yes. That's India. And then if you went downstairs, "Where's that boy?" "He's washing pots." He understood, in other words. That's what it meant. It was intuitive. Prabhupada. So you understood then, right? It's not just goes in, circles around a little bit, and comes out the other ear. It goes into the heart, from which action comes, follows, right? Yeah. So there's effort in yoga, there's effort in gyan. They're very virile, and they're about getting, attaining power. This boy told me, young man, the yogi, he said, "Well, if I cut off my hair, I'll lose all my power." I said, "See, that's the difference in our teachings. We are not interested in getting power. We're interested in serving the one who's actually powerful, who's a lot more powerful than the power in your hair. I can tell you that." So he shaved his head then. Right. So this is called Avarohana Pantha, is a descending path, right? Still, there is effort. What is the effort? We make effort to get grace. That's our effort. What does it look like? Like this. What is our way of knowing? It's this. This is how we know. If we're perfect knowing, you need a perfect method. He who is all knowing, we want to persuade him to share his knowing with us. Right? So we make an effort to get grace. So this, it looks weak. Or like this, it looks weak. But it's actually a sign of strength, because we know, to know your weakness, that is strong, right? If you have an addiction, until you really understand, I've got a problem, you're weak. When you understand, I really have a problem, I've got to go to the um, rehabilitation center. Hmm? That's your strongest point. From there, you have to hit bottom, right? Then you can go up. Hmm? So this is bhakti. Hmm? Strength through the wisdom of our inherent weakness. I mean, yes, we're consciousness, we're superior to matter, but still matter has covered us. How is it possible? It's inconceivable. Hmm? All we could say about it, well, I guess because we're small. Hmm? And matter, the Maya Shakti, it's also his Shakti. Sparks could be lost in the smoke. The fire won't be. The sparks could be lost in the smoke. Smoke is Maya Shakti. Spark is the Jiva Shakti. The fire is Krishna Shakti. Hmm? Fire is Krishna. And its heat and its light, fire is Krishna. Its heat and light are its Ladini and Samvit. Light means knowing. Samvit, special kind of knowing. Hmm? Special kind of knowing. And Ladini means bliss, love, a kind of low knowing that corresponds with a particular type of love. This is the Antaranga Shakti, Swarup Shakti, the heat and the light of Krishna, who is the fire, of which we are the sparks, from which the fire that is comes also smoke, in which the fire, the spokes, so that the sparks can get lost. That's the best we can explain it. How is it that we are superior, being consciousness to matter, and matter only matters if it matters to us? Still, we're covered by matter. This is inconceivable. But we don't doubt it. We don't doubt it. We experience it. The scriptures are showing us what's happening. And then we look and go, yeah, it's happening. That's what's happening. And the scripture tells us that by attachment, you're setting yourself up for suffering. Because if you like it, well, you can't keep it. Problem. Now, don't become neurotic on me here. It's gradual. You got to understand the theory and then how to deal with it. So how to apply yourself in such a way naturally you can rise above the material conditioning, not in some forced and artificial way, and that won't be good. Bhakti is very, very gentle, very user friendly. But this is an important point, right? What we are chasing after. Do you believe the Bhagavad Gita when it's showing you something that you couldn't see, but when you read the Gita, you could see it? I'm talking about the nature of the world. You get a different perspective of the world and you get some answers. Then it goes on and talks about Krishna's talking about himself. Well, you can't see him, and you can see the deity. Sometimes devotees have asked me, well, Krishna, we say Krishna's a person, we can interact with him, but he's not talking to me. So it's like a theological person. And how do we understand him? That he's a real person? How do we do that? My answer is, well, first you have to become a real person, because right now you're not. You're an imaginary person that will be here today and it will be gone tomorrow. You have to dig a little deeper. Right? So therefore, Chitta Darpana Marjanam. What's making up that personality, that false personality, is the impressions on your chitta. That Mahaprabhu was compared the chitta to a mind, to a mirror with dust. Remove the dust. Put the mirror on Krishna. Let that reflect. What is your personality? Your personality is largely derived from your attachments. You have senses that your body's made up of. They're in touch with sense objects. The contact with sense objects gives a certain sensation. And in the mind, the sixth sense says, I like that. or it says, I don't like that. And that's who you are. Right? You like this, you don't like that. That's your whole personality. Where did it come from? That's where it came from. Hmm? If you want a Krishna conscious personality, Narada says, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. You take the same senses, you bring them in touch with the same sense objects, not for their pleasure, but for the pleasure of Krishna. And if it's not favorable for the pleasure of Krishna, then I don't do it. If it is favorable, even if my senses don't like it, like getting up early, I do it anyway for the pleasure of Krishna. Then I rise above the dualities of the mind, good and bad, happy and sad, and a genuine and spiritual personality suitable for participating with the person Krishna arises, just like your material personality arises. We're just reversing the thing, changing the object. Rather than the senses for their own pleasure, the senses in touch with sense objects for the pleasure of Rishikesha. After all, he is the Rishikesha. He's the Isha, the controller of the senses. You couldn't even function in terms of your material capacity and be the person you are without, for example, you could not see without light coming from the sun, coming from the macrocosm. How are you going to get electricity? It's part of the macrocosm, electromagnetic force. You need light to see. You need air, wind to speak. All the functions of our senses, which are in our bodily composition, is a microcosm of the macrocosm. We're dependent upon the macrocosm for it to function. The macrocosm is, for that we posit devas and devis, consciousness behind them, right? You know, even in modern science thinks maybe we're assimilation. Maybe it's a program here, and we're part of the program. Somebody's pulling the strings.
Magics.
Yeah, the gunas, like puppets. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham vidimannite. Krishna says it in the Gita. You think you're doing things, they're actually being done by the Maya Shakti. I can prove it to you. Anything that you can do, we can do with artificial intelligence. Right? Practically. You might be out of a job soon. Whether you're an architect, artist, doesn't matter. Musician, technician, artificial intelligence can do it better, faster. So all these things that you're doing and you think that's me and I'm doing a pretty good job. So this is all done by artificial intelligence, actually. It's not by real intelligence. It's artificial intelligence. It's called a subtle body. It's psychic matter, and then you have physical matter. Between the combination of the two, it's a very sophisticated AI. That's why those in the field of artificial intelligence look at the human body as there's the model that we want to, emulate. We want to make, that would be the perfection. They don't understand it entirely like we do. Of course, they think, and once we do that, we make the perfect human and he has feelings, the machine has feelings, and then that's the end of religion, right? Except if you make a perfect human, then a bunch of them are going to wonder, what's the meaning of life? Because that's what humans do. I think there's more. And the question starts all over again. You're never getting away from this. You might as well accept it. In fact, you do accept it. Even in the atheistic perspective, materialism, physicalism, naturalism, they all accept that there is some ultimate truth that we're subordinate to. That's the reality. We should find it out. And we should work according to it. That's religion, essentially. Yeah. We just make it a little more beautiful and and so on. So another tangent there. Hmm. So you won't be able to remember where we took off on that tangent from the circle that we were speaking about. Hmm. But anyway, Avaroha Panta, ours is a descending path, right? We position ourselves to get Krishna's grace, and the Guru is the embodiment. As far as artificial intelligence, I should say one thing more about that. My point also is this: that there's one thing that artificial intelligence can't do. Now they're trying to get it to have feeling like humans, but that's not going to happen. I can tell you that. The advances in artificial intelligence are something like this: if your goal was to touch the moon, and you climbed up in a tree, you could say, we're closer. That's where an artificial intelligence is at in terms of its stated goal. So just to put it in perspective, Siri is not all that she's made out to be, right? And that voice on the phone. Nice though. Yeah. I was working with artificial intelligence, and not me, but Brenda Runyon was one of my students, and she was working with some translations and stuff, and so she was working on it for some time, and from Gaudiya perspective, logic, philosophy, translations, and so forth, and after she finished, she said thank you, and the Chat GPT, I think it's called, came back and said Hare Krishna. Haribo. See, we're winning. We got the first machine to chant Hare Krishna. We converted Chat. So this would be the one thing, though, that they can't do. They can't we can do this. So let artificial intelligence do everything else, and we'll just be left for chanting Hare Krishna with feeling, right? With feeling. So to help us in this, right, we need grace from the other side, from that world, and that is most perfectly embodied and tailor-made, I should say, custom-made for us in the form of Sri Guru, who, like the rain cloud, the verse, I'm talking the first verse of Gurvastakam, is capable of putting out the forest fire of material existence naturally through the rains of grace in the form of teachings and so on that we should apply ourselves. And these are some thoughts so we can reflect upon what it means to worship the Guru. It's not just some flowers and touching your head to the floor. That's the form. Good. We want the spirit, the essence as well, right? So, are there any questions tonight? Yes.
Said that we don't care anymore to get birth again, so on. But I was wondering, isn't it already Nishta feeling like that? Because if one is established in Nishta, isn't it that one feels like taking shelter fully of the holy name and not also still not wanting?
Yeah, no, the difference is this. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, when he speaks about Ruchi and Shikshastakam, he's not saying just, I don't want this, I don't want that. He says, I don't have any interest in it. In Nishta, their interest is still there, but you're suppressing the interest in a positive way. The seeds of those desires, you're flooding them with uninterrupted engagement in bhakti. So the seeds are there, but they don't have a chance to fructify. So there's a difference. In Ruchi Bhakti, they're gone. They're gone. So keep pouring that water on there, and don't give them a chance to fructify. And then then you come from Nishta to Ruchi, so there's a slight difference. Another question? You can theoretically not care for birth after birth. That's good in Nishta. Nishta means that your intelligence is fully consumed by bhakti. Therefore, now that the path that was like this, up and down, it's become straight. And the goal is ahead. You can see that theoretically you understand the goal, and it's like anchoring you to the path, because your intelligence is illumined by the goal. And so that everything that glitters isn't gold, and you know that. Yeah, this is the gold mine ahead. You know that. You know it because you heard sufficiently. You thought it through, and so you are using your intelligence in bhakti. You're spiritualizing your intelligence, and so your bhakti's being driven by intelligence, and some taste will come, but then it may go, and by intelligence you continue anyway. That's what's important to get philosophically grounded. You don't have to be a philosophical genius or anything like that, or a pundit, but everybody has different measure of intelligence, but it needs to be captured, controlled, and so forth. And then, mind is subordinate to intellect, senses are subordinate to mind. So then the mind is steady, the senses are committed, and so forth. And that's Nishta. So it's theoretical, and then there's obviously some taste, but no, there's a difference in energy, and the taste becomes specific. And in Nishta, well, yeah, it should be, the goal should be clear, and specific goal as well. Anyway, does that help? Yeah. Yes.
I have a friend who practices Tibetan Buddhist, and I promised him to ask his question to you.
Okay.
In the Buddhist tradition, the teacher dies like an ama, and then the students look for his next incarnation. I would like to ask if in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, whether there is a place for such a procedure for students to look for their guru in the next incarnation, or if something like that has ever happened in your tradition.
Excuse me, is there a Polish version of this?
Tak. Tak, zapytałem się, mam kolegę, który praktykuje buddyzm tybetański i poprosił mnie, żebym zapytał naszego guru o takie pytanie. W tradycji buddyjskiej nauczyciel umiera, tak jak lama, a potem uczniowie szukają jego kolejnej inkarnacji. Chciałbym zapytać, czy w Gaudiya Vaishnavizmie, czy jest takie miejsce na taki zabieg, żeby uczniowie szukali swojego guru w następnej inkarnacji? Czy coś takiego kiedyś w ogóle wystąpiło w tej tradycji?
Yeah, I think that particular Buddhist teaching, it would seem to me, would be relative to the Buddhist guru having taken a vow of bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is a vow to remain in the world till all sentient beings are delivered. That's going to be a long time. From our vantage point, and to be honest with you, I think from the Buddhist vantage point, that'll never end. There's no end to the material world. I mean, it might contract and expand and contract and expand, but those contractions and expansions have no beginning and no end. So saving the world is a bit of a way to motivate people for practice. And it works, and it's noble, and whatever we do is good, and so forth. Save yourself, so, but the whole thing's going to go on. Mahaprabhu told us to one of his disciples, was it Vasudev? Yeah. Vasudev prayed that all the karma of all the jivas he would take on, and then he would be delivered. Mahaprabhu was very pleased with his compassion, but he also schooled him and said, if one she-goat leaves a herd of cows you know, who will miss that. He was saying, if you liberate the whole universe, it's insignificant. That's how big the material reality is. It's infinite. There's an infinite number of jivas here. I mean, you can't make sense out of this. Start talking infinity, it's like a real problem. You have to stop talking, stop thinking. But it's naturally we want to share the wealth of our spiritual insight, our good fortune, our realizations with people, and so on and so forth. And it's a very it's motivating because we're part of the world. And geez, I got to live here. Might as well make it better. It'd be nice if everybody became a devotee, and it would be. It's a natural feeling, and the Vaishnavas are compassionate. So there's a huge scope, you know, for that. But you know, myself, I was famous for circulating Prabhupada's books, and when Prabhupada was first informed about my extraordinary success in the field, he wrote back to the devotee who had informed him. And he said, it's very nice that Tripurari Das is selling so many books. It's amazing, he said. But then he put an asterisk at the end of it, and in his own handwriting, he wrote, but make sure that he's always reading them too. And I was, but that really took, you can see I'm pretty well read. When he wrote it in his own hand, you know, I paid attention to that. So what's the point? And this was always something that was very central to my own spiritual life, that with regard to preaching, I'm preaching to make spiritual advancement. Who knows who I'll meet out there? Maybe some devotee from another life that's actually, once he's uncovered again, he'll be more advanced than me. And she can serve as a better example. One time in one ISKCON temple, I was staying when I was in ISKCON, and the devotees had been on Harinam Sankirtan, and they came back, and they came into the lobby of the temple, and I was there, and I said, Maharaj, there's this guy that followed us back from the Harinam out there. You know, he's like, he didn't say anything. He got long hair, and he looked like a homeless person, you know, didn't know what to do. And I said, well, where is he? And then he came in. He looked at me, and I looked at him. And when we embraced, and all the devotees said, what's going on here? Next week, he was the Harinam leader. He was one of my godbrothers who had become distracted, you know, and for some years. Then he saw the Harinam, he followed them back. And then we were close friends in the past. So who knows? We need all the help we can get, right? So many things I learned just talking to. I have no, you know, formal education. No higher education at all. Everything I learned from talking to people. I would ask them, what do you do? And I would, what's that about? And then I would think, how can I tell him that this is in the book also? You're into architecture. Well, check this out, you know, look at this picture of this temple or something, you know. I was pretty good at that, you know, come up with something, you know. And but I that's what I'd ask people questions, and I had you know, an interest in the people. Also, I learned from them what they said, how they answered, what their challenges were. You know, the philosophy with me was like you know, I was learning something every day, talking to people about Krishna. So yeah, it's for we're doing this for our own purification. We're not the purifiers of the world. It's not how I look at it. We're trying to get purified, and we're asking the world to help us, something like that. So the Bodhisattva vow is, you know, we don't have a similar Bodhisattva vow, although Vasudeva, he made that kind of statement. Mahaprabhu said, it's beautiful. It's very compassionate. Compassion is so central to the at least to the Tibetans. And this is probably a Tibetan, I think this is common in Tibetan. Tibetan school has a lot more ritual, and Zen is kind of like the Protestant form, you know, of Buddhism comparatively. It's very rich with colors and idol and so on, tapestries and so forth, and a little more like little more theological. There's the goddesses and so forth. So the Bodhisattva vow, yeah, and and for those who don't maybe aren't familiar with it, that guru then is usually some signs are given or something like that. There's some way of reading it. Look for him in the next birth, in this place, in that village, and they go and they're not always successful. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does, and then they find out well, it really wasn't him. Problem. But sometimes it happens. I would imagine. I'm sure. But our school is a little different in this regard. Now, when some of my godbrothers, wasn't me, was some of my godbrothers, one of them asked Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj that that Prabhupada had passed away, and as a result, we had the association of Sridhar Maharaj, whom Prabhupada opened the door to. The association with Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada opened the door to that. He told us. I was massaging Prabhupada's feet at the time in Vrindavan. It was about a month before he passed away. He was asked that after you depart, how we perform if you were to pass away, in the near term, how we perform the samadhi ritual, because we didn't know how to do that. And so Prabhupada said, for that, you can ask Narayan Maharaj in Mathura, because he had presided over Prabhupada's sannyas ceremony when Prabhupada received sannyas from Narayan Maharaj's guru, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and Prabhupada was friends with Narayan Maharaj, and he was right there in Mathura, and we were in Vrindavan. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj, my godbrother who had asked the question, then asked another question, that's kind of a follow-up, but he said, Prabhupada, after you pass on, is there anybody else that we can consult with? It seems like a reasonable question, but it's kind of peculiar if you knew us at the time. It's like Prabhupada was everything. Nobody else was anything. And, we didn't know really anybody else. And Narayan Maharaj was just a name, for the most part, or whomever. Prabhupada was he was like a moon amongst so many stars of Gaudiya Math at the time, empowered by Nityananda Prabhu. His campaign was so broad and expansive and so on. So, we knew a little bit sometimes, something, someone would come. When I first went to Mayapur, it was before the building was only one building was being built. It wasn't completed. I got there before Prabhupada. I had been invited by Prabhupada to come to the first festival. And I was staying in the straw hut that Prabhupada used to stay in there. And Kinchana Krishnadas Babaji, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, came. Who was quite famous. He wasn't famous at the time. He'd become famous now over time. But he came and he talked with me, patted me on the head and said, you become a good sannyasi. Mm. He blessed me. Kanchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj ki jai.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so right, excuse me. So Sridhar Maharaj opened the door for us to associate with Sridhar Maharaj. She said, for philosophy, my godbrother B.R. Sridhar Maharaj of Navadvip. I can still hear the words ringing in my ears. For philosophy, my godbrother B.R. Sridhar Maharaj of Navadvip. And so the Prabhupada passed away shortly thereafter. It was in November, mid-November, and then was an annual festival in ISKCON, and at Gurpurnim, which is a couple months later, and then the governing body, which is the managing body, they would get together and make plans for the year and resolutions and whatnot. And so the real pertinent issue at hand was, how will the succession go on? And so they went and consulted with Sridhar Maharaj, and they published a paper that was entitled In Consultation with Higher Authorities. This is how it all started here. Anyway, so there was a period where some of us were able to go and hear this from Sridhar Maharaj in Navadvip and come back before ISKCON decided to cut that off and make a resolution. No one can take siksha outside of ISKCON and remain in ISKCON. So at that point, you had to choose. Either you're going to follow the GBC or you're going to, if you want to follow the GBC, you got to leave ISKCON if you want to take siksha. So I followed the GBC, and took Siksha outside of ISKCON. Like, can't fault me for not following the JVC. But anyway, a little history. Some of my godbrothers, one of my godbrothers asked that Prabhupada, when the guru passes away, will he take birth again for his disciples? So this is similar, right? Type of question. And Puja Bhattacharya said that typically he is going to the Paravyom, to the spiritual world. We say, Nitya Lila Pravishto Om Vishnu Padma, he's entered the Nitya Lila. But then he was very perceptive, of course, and he could see that wasn't exactly the answer they were looking for. They like Prabhupada very much. And so he said, but it's possible that they are petitioning him in their hearts, that life after life. What is the song we sang? Janme Janme Prabhu say, life after life, my guru. So he said that, and if he's in Goloka, then he may go to Krishna and say, they're asking for me to come back. And then Krishna will say, no, there's others there that are there that can represent me and you. He said, no, they're asking for me. Then all right, send them. It was kind of cute and charming. We liked it. Right. So there's a possibility, something like that, but it wouldn't be necessarily the norm. And Guru is one at the same time. So it means it's, I'll give you an example. What I mean by that, Prabhupada's my guru and Sridhar Maharaj is my guru, and they're very different. They have very, very different personalities. But the quality of the person and their speech and so forth, I could understand. It's coming from the same tree. These are two leaves. They've blown and they found them in distant places, but they're coming from the same tree. So what Prabhupada could do to me, if you will, Sridhar Maharaj could do to me also. I could understand. I wept, to hear his shiksha. I thought that because it was a difficult time. We were looking for spiritual authority, and Prabhupada had left, and he was all we knew. And there were problems with those who tried to walk in his shoes with all of the best intentions. They were stumbling, and some of them were falling, and it was a difficult time. In ISKCON, it was an extremely difficult time. Wherever I went, I was, traveling sannyasi. Prabhupada gave me sannyas in 1975. Wherever I went, whatever temple, they would give the Bhagavatam class. Then after the class, the real topic was, what the heck's going on? What the heck's going on here? This guru did this, that one said that. Well, what is a guru? What's happening? What's a Diksha guru? And then class, then back to what's really happening. It was like everywhere. It wasn't like the back room. It was like the temple program was the back room. And then, the back pages, and then the main page was, what the heck is going on? It's an interesting story. At that time, in the midst of all of that, I made connection with Sridhar Maharaj, and then I could understand, this is what's going on. This is Prabhupada pointed in this direction, and here's the answer. And but it wasn't well received at the time. So many weren't ready for that. But anyway, we were just rambling a bit about some history. But my experience was the guru was one, even though the persons were different, right? Because the guru is really Krishna is the tattva, particular tattva. So that said, so your guru passes away, and you take birth and leaves and goes to the Nitya Lila, and then you take another birth, right? Who will be your guru, right? So typically it will be another guru. But then the question comes, but what if I want to be in the group, in the Leela, or connected closely with that group, and service thereby to my guru in his Siddharupa. What if that's what I want? That's a little bit of a different question. What if I want that? What's the answer? If that's what you want, that's what you'll get. That's all there is to it. And in the meantime, if it takes a few births and another person, another Vaishnava is the guru and so forth, then they'll only help you. Yeah. Right. So that's my answer. That's how it looks at it in our tradition. So there's an eternal connection with the guru. Which guru? That's up to you, which one you want. Whichever one you want. What if you want them all? You can have them all. They'll all be there. Everybody's going to be there. Might as well get used to one another because nobody's going anywhere, or we're all going to the same place. Either way you want to look at it. All right. Anything else? Yes.
One can object that Krishna is the source of all avatars because he himself is avatar. And on the other hand, there is no Narayana avatar. So one can have argument that that it indicates that Narayana is the source of all avatars because Narayana is not born like Krishna in this world. He made that.
Well, there's no rule that says the avatari can't decide to avatar. Avatari means the source of avatars. Avatar means to cross tara from up to down. So to come from the, let's say, the spiritual world to the material world. That's what an avatar is. So there's no rule that says the avatari can't avatar. And there's a reason why he does. And there's a reason why Narayan doesn't. So it makes sense. Why would Narayan become an avatar in the material world? He has avatars. There are different aspects of himself. Varaha, Nrsimha, Kurma, this one, that. These are all like emotional moments in the life of Narayan that play themselves out, and by his own arrangement, they descend into the material world to deliver people, for deliverance. So he has no need to come himself. Aspects of himself are coming. But the avatari, if the avatari is Krishna, then Krishna has a reason for avataring. What is the reason? Because his Leela is human-like. And he has a desire to play it out on location. It's like if you make a movie and it's filmed on location, that's a special feature. Instead of making fake mountains in the background and so forth, you actually go to the Polish mountains, and there you do the movie right there. Wow. So, yeah, human life. Therefore, it's said that it could be argued that the Gokul is more full than Golok. It's more human. It's more his human leelas, or his human-like leela is called also Deva Leela in Goloka. What do we find? And here it's called the Nara Leela, the human. It's more human-like. Love is a fallen condition. So he wants to go to the fallen world, fall in love, Krishna. So he has a reason. Narayan doesn't have the same reason. He doesn't have prema madhura. He doesn't have that kind of love. That's human-like. All these humans are doing it down here. He wants to come and mix with them, with all of its flaws. Right? He wants the whole thing. What else?
Follow-up question that.
Yeah.
Krishnadas Babaji, you mentioned you had some interaction with him. Chaitanya?
Yeah.
Chaitanya.
Kinchana Krishnadas Babaji. That's what Prabhupada would always say. If you said Krishnadas Babaji, he would always say Kinchana Krishnadas Babaji. Kinchana, because Akinchana means no desire. He had no desire. You want to differentiate him from so many other Babajis. He was, yes, he idealized Sakyarasa. That's a fact. he wrote to Pujapat Sridhar Maharaj about it, and Sridhar Maharaj had that letter, and I published the essence of some of that letter in Circle of Friends, also in the history chapter of the history about the influence of Sakirasa in lineage over the centuries. And he wrote in a letter that I found my ideal. Actually, yes, Krishna and Balarama manifested and invited him to join the herding. He went. He found his ideal there. Yes, very nice. Kinchan Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj ki jai.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yes.
Whether the guru is on mission. So they commonly told the guru is the spirit of God. And by the force of God, mission. The big department, I wanted to hear what your thoughts on that.
Right. The jiva is knowledge. And when we say that the jiva, among other things, is knowledge, we mean he's consciousness, not inert. So here, gyan is, in this instance, is synonymous with consciousness, the opposite of being inert. Okay? The jiva is not inert. And it also means, when we say that the jiva is knowledge, it means that it has self-awareness. Self-awareness. Swarup gyan. So this is always with us. It means I am. I know that I am. I mean, we all know that we are, right? Except for a few foolish philosophers doubt it. So this I am is one aspect of the knowledge that is part of the constitution of the jiva, innate. Now, not only is the jiva knowledge in this sense, but it has the attribute of knowing and the knowledge that corresponds with knowing. So it has attributive knowledge. That's called, in Ramanuja's terms, and Baladev uses this term in Govinda Bhashya, his commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Dharma Bhuta Gyan. So it means attributive. So let me give you an example. You have a light, it's luminous, and it illumines other things. So we are consciousness, we are knowledge in that sense. We know that we are, I am, and we know other things about ourselves and other things. This is called attribute. You have the attribute of knowledge, of knowing. So you are knowledge and you are a knower. This is Anandatmaka of the jiva. Now, one of the Bhagwan also has this, right? So Bhagwan, God, knows that he is, and then he knows everything else. That's called omniscience, right? So his Dharma Bhuta Gyan means he's omniscient. He knows everything. Now, the difference between us and God is that our Dharma Bhuta Gyan in samsara is contracted. His isn't contracted, unless it's contracted in the case of Krishna by Yoga Maya, which is another kind of higher knowledge even. That's another thing. But for us, our knowledge can be expanded or contracted. So it's contracted in material life, but it's there. When the object of knowledge shows up, then the knowledge that's inherent in us comes out, and we know a thing. In the absence of that thing, that object, the knowledge is contracted. That's why when you go to sleep at night, you only know that I am. When you wake up, you knew that you were. because there was nothing else, no other objects other than yourself. But in the waking world, we become knowledgeable of things because the object appears before us. This is kind of the idea. Obviously, there are other details and so forth, but knowledge, this aspect, it contracts and expands. So when it expands to its fullest through bhakti, spiritual culture, then when that's the liberated status. So the jiva's inherent knowledge is expanded, and therefore he is like Bhagwan, omniscient. Right? One of the qualities of a mukta. Now, that doesn't mean that he knows everything at all times. That would be a real burden. Like, I gotta know everything that's going on. I mean, but he has the capacity to know whatever needs to be known. He only applies that in terms of what's necessary for serving Krishna. He's under the influence of the Swarup Shakti entirely, which is working only for the pleasure of Krishna. So he or she knows what to do best for the service of Krishna would be a way of thinking about it. So now that statement speaks about someone, guru, let's say, who's in the spiritual world. You understand? In this world, then that may not be fully manifest, even in the perfectly qualified guru. Therefore, Prabhupada said, I'm not omniscient. Of course, he meant it in a different way, too. He doesn't know everything at all times. Somebody has to ask him, do you know about this? I don't know about that. You tell me. So that's how to think about it. I hope I haven't confused you further. Another way to talk about, of course, is to love Krishna is the end of knowing. That's the end of knowing. Another way to talk about it is the kind of knowledge that we're after is the knowledge by which we know there's nothing more that needs to be known. Why, you see, why are we after knowledge anyway? We want knowledge to inform our actions, by which the more perfect the knowledge, the more perfect our actions, which are all in pursuit of happiness. So you become perfectly happy, you know everything. That's another way of thinking about it. You know everything now. And if there's something you need to know, Krishna will let you know. Something like that. Now, that's what I cited to you is about from Vedanta Sutra of omniscience being one of the qualities of the liberated people. You're talking about life in Vaikuntha or Goloka. Don't look for it here, even amongst sadhus, in a literal sense. What else? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's a nickname. Here comes Holly, Haldar. We do it, right? Everybody's got a nickname or two. Ram has many nicknames also. Hari, Hari Ki Jai. All right, let's stop there. We can meet again tomorrow morning. Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Nityananda Ki Jai. Bhakti Vinod Paribar Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.